You're watching Coin TV, Channel 6.
Good morning. I'm Charles Osgood, and this is Sunday Morning. This was a new world, only to those newly arrived in it. Conquistadors from Spain, trappers from France, courtiers and pilgrims from England. To those who were already here, this was a very old world indeed. We know what became of them. They were hounded and herded and displaced and destroyed. But certain promises were made to them over and over in exchange for their land. And we know, too, what became of those promises more often than not. Is it about to happen again? There is reason to think so. Harry Smith will report our cover story this morning.
Across the vast stretches of the West, word is spreading throughout America's Indian reservations that huge budget cuts are coming from Washington. Cuts in programs that the Indians say were guaranteed to them by Congress in exchange for their land. Guaranteed for as long as the rivers flow and the grass grows. Later on Sunday morning, we'll see what those cuts will mean to a people already mired in poverty.
Eugenia Zuckerman will be here this morning to tell us how it can be that one of the commanding figures of 20th century opera, long gone now in real life, happens to be back on stage. Above the plains is an airmail postcard from Nebraska from Roger Welch.
Tom Kammerer farms near the tiny town of Lashara, Nebraska. Tom is perfectly at home with his profession that measures life in bushels per acre, feet per minute, and hundredths of inches. And then there are times when things pick up a bit. Technology shifts gears. Speeds increase. The farm cap becomes a pilot's helmet, and the mower becomes an F-16 Viper of the Iowa Air National Guard in Sioux City, miles above the sweet bottomlands that Captain Kammerer farms.
On this weekend of Veterans Day, another story this morning, this one from Mark Phillips, about bravery and what we owe the soldiers of the past. These are soldiers scientists, and we owe them more than you think. John Leonard will be along in a little bit with a review of not one but two miniseries, and we'll talk later on with CBS News correspondent Phil Jones in Washington about the presidential campaign, minus one campaigner. However, first there are headlines for Sunday morning, the 12th of November. Early this morning at Cape Canaveral, Florida, Space Shuttle Atlantis made a pretty picture.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Commander Ken Cameron and 4 other astronauts are aboard the craft, headed off to link up with Russia's Mir space station. Once docked, the Americans of Atlantis will spend a few days with the 3 Russians of Mir, to whom the astronauts are bringing, among other things, a collapsible guitar. Congress and the White House continue to disagree this morning on budgetary matters. Yesterday, the two sides could not even agree on who should attend negotiations to effect a compromise. And at the moment, no talks are scheduled at all. Without an agreement, the federal government may very well have to shut itself down come Tuesday. In Israel this morning, with the ancient prayer for the dead being intoned in the background, the family of Yitzhak Rabin bade farewell to the slain prime minister. With this ceremony, the official period of mourning in Israel ends. We will have a look at sports and the weather and a milepost by which to remember the week when Sunday morning returns.
Things change. The first light bulb burned for just a few minutes. Today, it's difficult to remember the last time you changed one. The first airplane flight went all of 120 feet. Now we get jet lag. Oregon's first forest conservation efforts address primarily fire prevention. Today, it covers everything from wildlife and stream protection to recreation and tree planting. Good forestry enhances both public and private lands. Cavanum Forest Industries believes that's important because Oregon's forests are a resource worth conserving.
I'm Susan Marshall, and I live in Portland. We have families in the neighborhood. We have single women. Unfortunately, it borders Sandy Boulevard, a mecca for adult-oriented businesses or sex shops. Women and children can't walk down their neighborhood streets without being harassed. It's just wrong. I have a lot of respect for Gordon Smith. Without Gordon's help, we would not be able to fight adult businesses. He cares about people, and he cares about this issue.
Yes, we have motorhomes, and trailers, too. And YES means year-end sale. Yes, we're liquidating nearly $25 million of new RV inventory before the end of the year, regardless of profit. Yes, you can trade in anything, paid for or not. Yes, you can choose from nearly 450 motorhomes and trailers, the top brands in the country at Guarantee in Junction City. And yes, there's always to finance your RV at Guarantee during the year-end sale. So for motorhomes, and trailers, too, it's Guarantee in Junction City.
There is a new kind of richness born of the sun. From high atop the mountains of Colombia, richness with flavor so rare, you will find it only in Folgers' new Colombian Supreme. A Colombian coffee like no other. Colombian beans, expertly roasted and ground, make this Colombian even darker than the leading Colombian brand. Dark, yet not bitter. Folgers Colombian Supreme captures Colombia. And will capture you, too.
In sports, yesterday's game against Iowa was considered a real test of Northwestern's amazing football season. The Hawkeyes had beaten the Wildcats 21 times in a row. And indeed, Iowa had a 14-10 lead in the second quarter. But then, Northwestern's Brian Musso looked as if he might muff this punt. Instead, proceeded to return it all the way. 60 yards for the touchdown and the lead. Running back Darnell Autry had his 11th straight 100-yard rushing day, scoring this touchdown in the third quarter. And in the fourth, with Northwestern ahead by 4 points, Iowa tight end Derek Pierce caught a pass, but then fumbled, and Northwestern's Udella Ismaili picked it up and ran it in for the touchdown, icing the game for the Wildcats, their 9th win of the season. Northwestern hasn't won 9 games in a season since 1903, when the teams they played included Chicago Dental and North Division High School. As for the weather now, it was in the 60s yesterday through much of the Northeast. That was yesterday. It will be 20 or 30 degrees colder than that today, thanks to some very brisk air moving into the Northeast from the Midwest. 26 or 7,000 runners in the New York City Marathon will feel the difference pretty keenly today. It will be very cold around the Great Lakes, too. Even as you head south, look for 50s in Georgia, 60s along the Gulf Coast, and 70s from Texas on out to Southern California. Pretty cool, all in all. Pretty nice, too, all in all, at least through the lower half of the country. Skies will be bright and sunny from the mid-Atlantic to the Gulf Coast, clear out to the Pacific. The northern half of the map doesn't look so good, though. Howling winds and lower temperatures in the Northeast may cause whatever rain is still in the air to turn to snow on the way down. Heavy snow, it may be, over the mountains of Pennsylvania and New York. Cloudy from Illinois all the way west to Oregon and Washington, with in certain places in between widespread areas of light rain. As for tomorrow, we will have to keep a weather eye on the storm you see over Kentucky and environs. It may very well strengthen and spread so that come Tuesday and Wednesday, the whole Northeast will be caught up in it. Snow today over the Ohio Valley and the Central Appalachians. Dry, however, along the Gulf Coast and across the plains and the Southwest. Snow here and there, though, around the Northwest. For a milepost this morning, a poem about the hat that was not thrown in the ring. And now, the general from the Bronx has told us graciously, no thanks. He doesn't have the call or will for what many other men would kill for. Neither the general nor his wife yearns for the presidential life. He has the skill, he has the nerve, He even has the will to serve, but not, he says, in that position, as any kind of politician. He says he's looked into his soul and cannot see that as his goal. He's really had the chance to run, and very likely could have won. He made it clear he did not choose this way for fear that he might lose. In the position that he's in, perhaps he feared that he might win. What General Powell would try to do in war was always try to think things through. What would it take? How would it be? What would it cost, this victory? And ponder more than once or twice if winning would be worth the price. Without a doubt, the general knew exactly what he'd have to do, not in some vague, abstracted way, but hour to hour, day to day. The things he must anticipate had he become a candidate. The grubby, money-raising part with which he knew he'd have to start. The circus atmosphere he faced, of which his book tour was a taste. There is 1,000 times more pain in a political campaign. He knew the wheeling and the dealing that often have a way of stealing or sometimes making you forget idealistic goals you've set. And if you win, to find one day you hate the games you have to play. Perhaps someday, sometime, somehow. Thank you, but no, says Powell. Not now.
This portion of Sunday Morning is sponsored by Merrill Lynch. For clients around the world, we make a difference. The difference is Merrill Lynch.
In Asia, in Europe, the Americas, and throughout the world, the same set of principles guides all our actions. And while we have as clients more countries, companies, and individuals, we don't judge ourselves by this fact alone, but how we live up to our principles. We think that makes a difference. The difference is Merrill Lynch.
From IBM. See and hear me at Radio Shack.
At BASF, we don't make the mattress, we make it softer. We don't make the boots, we make them drier. We don't make the house, we make it livelier. We don't make the snowboard, we make it stronger. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy, we make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
There are sure to be a few records set during the 1996 Olympic Games. And as the official airline, Delta has already set one. Of all U.S. airlines, only Delta flies smoke-free on every flight to every city worldwide. It's not something we did to win a gold medal. We did it so you could breathe a little easier. Delta Airlines.
In 1855, when the great chief of the Allied tribes of Puget Sound surrendered the land on which a city named for him, Seattle, would one day be built, he said this: "There was a time when my people covered the land as the waves of the wind-ruffled sea cover its shell-paved floor. But that time has long since passed away with the greatness of the tribes that are now but a mournful memory." Things have not improved much for his people since 1855, in spite of certain promises that were made to Seattle and to many other chiefs. The question before us this morning, posed in a cover story to be reported now by Harry Smith, is, are those promises about to be broken yet again?
They are Lakota, Sioux from the Pine Ridge and Rosebud reservations in South Dakota, Kiowa from Texas, Shoshone from Oklahoma, Pueblo from New Mexico, Navajo from Arizona. They are braves, warriors, hunters. They are royalty. They've come together in Rapid City, South Dakota for a powwow, for a show of unity, to share, as they say, the one thing the white man cannot take away from them: their heritage. They have lost just about everything else. Nowhere in America is poverty more pervasive than on the large Indian reservations of the West. There are no jobs for these hunters, nothing to do for these warriors. On the Ogallala Sioux Reservation in Pine Ridge, unemployment is 85%. Virtually everyone relies on federal aid.
Keep in mind, these are people that are on fixed income, an average of $468, and these people will suffer this winter because of the harshness conditions.
Philip Underbaggage is a member of the Ogallala Sioux Tribal Council. The Ogallala Sioux are the losers in a war that ended brutally for them here at Wounded Knee a century ago. Now they and most of the nation's 2 million Indians are about to lose more. Congress is hacking away at Indian support programs, at education, health services, jobs, heating supplements, and housing. Cuts that are averaging 20%. Some call it betrayal.
Our ancestors had ceded away millions and millions of acres in return for what the government had promised us and guaranteed to us in the treaties, which is a health, education, welfare, and land, the trust responsibility. And, you know, we feel that Congress, the government, has reneged on its treaty obligations.
There is a perception that casino gambling income is lifting Indian tribes out of poverty. Not true, especially in the remote areas where most Indians live. So far, the Pine Ridge Casino provides some jobs, but it is a money-losing proposition. And there's another downside.
People spend their money on gambling and not able to pay their utility bills, food, shelter, this type of thing.
There is some private farming on the reservation. Most of it, however, is on land leased by white ranchers to grow wheat or graze cattle.
My rope, Pam, you got the rope.
Some Indians keep horses, mainly to keep the old ways alive.
That's why I have horses. You know, my father, my grandfather, and their ancestors had horses. They were horsemen.
Mel Lonehill is vice chairman of the Pine Ridge Reservation. He told us the reason the lands are leased out is that Indians don't get farm subsidies.
But the farmer does. The farmer that leases this property here gets a subsidy from the United States government. So the government, you know, looks at us as welfare recipients of the government. What about the white farmers that are here on this country? They get subsidies every year.
But what hurts Mel Lonehill more than anything is that what they get from Washington is paltry compared to what the Sioux have given. From the Black Hills in the west to the Missouri River in the east, they freely roamed through most of 6 states just 150 years ago.
You know, so if we went to court with the United States government, the United States government will owe us their lives. You know, we've given millions and billions of dollars out of the Black Hills. The gold that they've taken out, you know, the silver that's been taken out of there, the coal that's been taken out of there, the timber, you know, I don't know what else they've taken out.
Mel Lonehill thinks Indians should not be made to suffer because Congress needs to balance the budget.
We didn't make the deficit. We're not the ones that spend billions of dollars, you know, in space or giving it to other countries.
He worries about the effect of the cuts on the Indian children. The Indian schools are the lifeline of the reservation.
We are more than a school because we are the only really business, money, economy in the community.
Wayne Blankenbiller, the principal of one of the reservation's elementary schools, told us he is already stretched thin.
People come here for a lot of needs. They come here when they need gas. They come here when they need a vehicle to move furniture. They come here when a child is sick and they don't have transportation to go to the doctor. Our children sometimes come to school to sleep, sometimes come to school to eat. Right now we have one house for every 4 families on the reservation. We have overcrowding in every house. I know of one family who has 28 people living in a 2-bedroom home. All these things affect us in the school. They affect the students, they affect the teachers, they affect the learning environment.
Tribal leaders see the coming cuts as the beginning of a destructive cycle. At a time when juvenile crime is increasing and likely to get worse, there may be no money to staff this brand new juvenile detention center. 1/3 of the police force may be cut, leaving just a handful to patrol this 5,000 square mile reservation. And of course, cutbacks mean layoffs in a community with no jobs to begin with. Indian artwork, a successful $500 million a year business, will also suffer. Congress has cut in half the budget for the Institute of Native American Arts.
What we do with our hands is the only bread and butter we have.
Zalphia Cowersap, a Shoshone from Idaho, believes the cuts are influenced by non-Indians who are moving into the business, copying Indian art and manufacturing it abroad, stealing their culture.
They just want to cut our throats eventually, but at the same time, what they're interested in is our Indian ways, our Indian beliefs, the way we pray. They're after that. It's not right. We don't have any justice.
No justice and nowhere to go.
What white people are going to hire Indians behind the counters to work? Because of our color and because of who we are, we don't get hired for anything. And if it is, it's very minimal.
Even in the best of times, Pine Ridge, nestled between the Black Hills and the Dakota Badlands, has been a harsh place to live.
This is our only running water right here. This is it. This is our running water right here.
What makes it particularly harsh is that many Sioux cannot accept the sacrifices in the here and now being asked of them so that future generations of white folks may be a little better off.
It's hard to be a Lakota. It is, because we're living on broken promises. But you know what? We're still here. And we can't be forgot. We cannot be forgotten about. Because, you know, we're still here. And this shouldn't go on. It doesn't go on nowhere else, but it goes on here. How come?
Let me guess. One side of you craves easy chair comfort, while the other side itches for performance, right? Well, meet Buick Regal with its famous 3800 V6 engine and Grand Touring suspension. Add to that an all-new interior with body-sensitive seats. And finally, there's a car for the two of you. Buick Regal.
What's really amazing about global communications? Information systems for international defense? Data transmissions to financial markets around the world? No. It's about making it easier for people to get together. That's why a GTE-led team recently brought the first cellular phone system to Cordoba, Argentina. And why we operate the local phone system in Venezuela, including the tiny village of Grieco, which Mercedes Torres finds pretty amazing.
Hola, Mercedes, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, Mercedes.
Not because of the technology, but because she doesn't feel a million miles away from her grandfather anymore. Amazing.
In the next half hour of Sunday morning, a Veterans Day story of some soldier scientists and the clanking machine that may have saved democracy.
Tonight, the long-awaited sequel to Lonesome Dove. James Garner and Sissy Spacek had a powerful all-star cast in Larry McMurtry's Streets of Laredo. In the blink of an eye, lives will be changed forever, and nothing at this hospital
I hope you suffer and then die!
will ever be the same. Please, dear God. It's Chicago Hope's most powerful hour. You're leaving. I'll be back. You'll never come back. Don't dare miss a minute. An all-new Chicago Hope, Monday.
This is CBS.
Come in from the cold with the instant warmth and the high efficiency of a natural gas fire. It's the best way to make a house a home. Convert your fireplace into a 99.9% energy-efficient heat source with Temco American Dream vent-free gas logs. You'll enjoy the beauty of an open wood-burning fire with realistic glowing logs and embers. And only Temco offers a full line of vent-free gas fireplace products to meet any building or remodeling need. For a demonstration, visit the Temco dealer near you. Natural gas hearth products. It doesn't get any easier.
It's holiday food, holiday crafts, holiday magic. It's Portland's annual Holiday Food and Gift Festival, Friday through Sunday at the Oregon Convention Center. A magical holiday wonderland filled with over 400 displays to shop and sample. Unique arts and crafts, decoration ideas, and gourmet food tasting. Plus cooking demonstrations, Santa, and a whole lot more. Enjoy the opening of the holiday season and shop early at the Holiday Food and Gift Festival, Friday through Sunday at the Oregon Convention Center. You'll love it.
It's the holidays again, which means parties and carolers and in-laws and turkeys and gift shopping and winter break and eggnog and Santa Claus and Christmas trees and tire chains and gift wrap and snow shovels and fruitcake and Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. Fortunately, the Oregonian can help you deal with all these things, including what might be the best solution of all: going somewhere else. Holiday survival tips every day in the Oregonian. That's kind of useful, don't you think?
Mike Donahue, News Center 6.
It's Sunday morning on CBS. And here again is Charles Osgood.
John Leonard joins us now for a television review. A couple of them, actually. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Charles. In Streets of Laredo, James Garner as Captain Call, the Texas Ranger turned bounty hunter, starts off tonight on CBS, already over the hill. By Tuesday, he's so plumb tuckered out, he leaves one of his legs behind in Mexico. After 5 hours of sandstorms and choo-choos, windmills and lynchings, cacti and rattlers, many murders, multiple rapes, a burning dog, and some bird chirp, everybody in Larry McMurtry's splendid sequel to Lonesome Dove is either tired or dead.
I don't like it when Paul goes. Boy, stop
This includes Sam Shepard as P.I., who is married to Sissy Spacek's Lorena, who used to be a prostitute, but is now a schoolmarm.
Guess you don't think whores ought to become school teachers.
Well, I expect I'm not to be much help to you in Mexico either, Captain.
Jim wants Sam to help him track down a killer who also robs railroads. Sam at first says no.
I reckon it's time for me to stay home.
I guess I stopped this train for nothing. You ain't getting on.
But he will change his mind in time to get in trouble, along with Charles Martin Smith as the railroad accountant.
That's the count.
I can track any animal. I can even track fleas and bugs.
And Wes Studi as a Kickapoo tracker. All these people invade Mexico, sort of like NAFTA, in search of the baby-faced killer. Alexis Cruz is Joey. So antisocial, he tortures his own siblings.
Since you ain't got a husband, well, how about me?
In Mexico, they also find George Carlin in unrequited love with Sonia Braga, who happens to be the mother of Joey the killer.
come on, give me the money.
And Randy Quaid as the outlaw thug John Wesley Hardin. And Ned Beatty as Judge Roy Bean, who'll hang from his own rafters.
Slipped right by and killed Roy Bean, then I let...
When Sissy follows, looking for her missing husband, Jim's beginning to have some existential doubts.
I'm just not sure I can protect you.
I can't tell you why, in TV westerns these days, the villain of choice is an antisocial half-breed psychopath, like Blue Duck or Cherokee Jack, or the blonde and blue-eyed Mexican Joey. Whereas in TV science fiction these days, the evil other is invariably alien. For instance, The Invaders, a Fox miniseries going head-to-head tonight and Tuesday against Laredo. Roy Thinnis returns after 27 years of paranoia about body snatchers from outer space.
Stop. What the hell are you doing here?
He could have told Scott Bakula, an ex-con and inadvertent psychic, to stay out of buses and tunnels and dentists' chairs. And watch out for telltale flies.
And there were all these flies.
Scott will convince Elizabeth Pena, a grief-stricken doctor, not to kill him, at least until he's saved Los Angeles from a subway crisis between shadowy menace and noisy explosion.
He's right. We're not lying.
Meanwhile, Richard Thomas is one of them, instead of John Boy Walton.
Hello? Is anybody safe anymore in this country?
And who can tell for sure about Richard Belzer, a hate radio DJ?
Let's get the homeless people, give them all nightsticks, give them $10 a week, tell them to hang around outside prisons and mental hospitals. If people escape, they can beat them up. That way we take care of the homeless problem and escape prisoners. A psychopath is loose. Yeah, pleasant dreams tonight. Thank you.
In the old Invaders, we never saw the aliens. In this miniseries remake, they get out of their saucer, morph in telephone booths, eat toads, and being partial to toxic waste and carbon monoxide are bad for the environment. Some of this is interesting, like a Cold War, but all of its many frantic minutes don't add up to an iota of the stylish dread in the average X-Files episode. How are the Richards, Thomas and Belzer, supposed to compete with the serial-killing translator of Italian poetry, who showed up on the X-Files the other Friday night to prey on lonely women on the internet, to secrete a membrane of suffocating gastric juice, and to feed on the fatty tissues of his victims? The ultimate sweeps massage therapy, vampire liposuction.
Some would say going 100,000 copies without an unscheduled service call is impressive. Sharp would say, it's a beginning. Sharp. Call for your free interactive kit of copier solutions.
At Cigna, we care about people who have babies. We care about people who have cancer. We care about companies that make steel and about companies that make bread. We care about people whose lives have been shattered and the people who help pick up the pieces. We care about life and about all that makes life great or possible or just better. At Cigna, we care because it is our business to care, and because the more we care, the better our business does. But we also care because, well, because we have babies too. Cigna, a business of caring.
Only one has the moves of Barry Sanders. Only one has his acceleration. Only one has his control. Only one has such breathtakingly perfect balance. Seville STS with the North Star system. A great performer creates a higher standard.
At Sharp, we have a full line of copiers that suit the needs of your business, no matter how big your business becomes. Call for your free interactive kit of copier solutions.
Teenagers hanging out, just something you have to live with, right? Well, not in this town.
You have to do something about the kids hanging out on the street. You have to.
But wait till you hear what the grown-ups did about it.
The town allowed this to happen to these kids, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
The town fathers versus the teens. Did they go too far? Eye on America Monday on the CBS Evening News.
Now to tell us about Terrence McNally's play Masterclass, here's Eugenia Zuckerman. It's nice to see you again, Eugenia.
Thanks.
This play is successful, very successful, but I guess maybe that's in a way redundant to say that because he seems successful pretty much all the time.
He knows great success, but he also does know failure. Terrence McNally's first play, Things That Go Bump in the Night, on Broadway was, in his words, a complete, total flop. But he's had a string of wonderful successes. 2 years ago, the Tony for the book of Kiss of the Spider Woman, and last year the Tony for his play Love, Valor, Compassion, and now Masterclass is a huge hit.
But it's hard to imagine that a play about an opera singer giving a masterclass in opera singing to somebody, this is successful.
It's a huge success because it's about so many things. It's about that, but it's also about the need for art. It's about commitment and integrity and passion. It's also about the deepest love and the most painful loss. To many, Maria Callas was the most exciting opera singer of her time. Called La Divina, her intensely dramatic portrayals on stage were matched off stage in her volatile personal life. The name Maria Callas to this day conjures drama.
It's no secret that I was paid more than any of my rivals, which was the newspaper's word for them, not mine. As if I had any, how can you have rivals when no one else can do what you can do?
That drama has found its way back to the stage, to Broadway, where Maria Callas is now the central character in Masterclass, a new play written by Tony-winning playwright Terrence McNally.
I was one of the very few people in the world who thought her voice was beautiful. I hasten to add, she was incredibly controversial. When I came to New York and I went to her debut, she was, and I saw most of her performances in New York, she was booed at every performance. She never got a good review from the New York Times or any of the papers. With Callas, there was a tension. Would she make those top notes? Would people start booing in the middle of an aria? So it wasn't relaxing to go hear Callas. You were like, it's like a war camp.
I wanted you all also to hear this aria because this is the classical approach, and it is approach also to the other arias, no matter what repertoire you do.
In the early 70s, Maria Callas taught a series of masterclasses at the Juilliard School in New York. Terrence McNally, an ardent fan, attended.
Tosca's black eyes.
Years later, a chain of events led McNally to suddenly see the format of a masterclass as a play. Simple, direct, austere, yet highly theatrical. For while it is a class, the process of teaching places teacher and student in front of an audience. At the time of the masterclasses, Maria Callas had not performed publicly for 6 years.
I know what her real motivation was to find out if she could sing again in public. That was her own self-motivation. The point I'm making, and it's a very simple one, is that art is beauty.
In Masterclass, Callas is played by one of the world's leading dramatic actresses, Zoe Caldwell.
She wasn't born with the greatest voice God had ever given a human being. It was her will, her musicianship, that brought into life the Callas voice. And it was her relinquishing of the nurturing of the voice that eventually broke it.
The play recalls Callis's tempestuous life, from her unhappy childhood through triumphs on the world's great opera stages and on to her jet-setting, glamorous, and finally destructive days as the mistress of Aristotle Onassis. Near the end of Callis's career, her voice lay perilously close to ruin.
She sang all the great, not unlike, very like her own life. She was a high priestess of opera. And Maria, sure, was a high priestess who ultimately gave really everything to Aristotle Onassis. And that was her life and her voice to give if she chose. So I feel, fine, Maria, you choose to do that. They're yours to give. And then you must take the consequences, and she did.
In a 1959 CBS interview with Edward R. Murrow, it was evident that Maria Callas took both her art and herself very seriously.
Serious artist is a person that dedicates himself wholly all his life serving art, not serving his own purpose.
The big thing you're always told in vocal school, I've heard, is sing on your interest, not your capital. You know, Callas sang on her capital, and you know, I'm a writer that I think I'm pretty emotional in my writing, and sometimes I worry I'm going to get empty, but I don't. But you know what? I think that's something. See, that's a bad thing I think they teach you in school. You know. Don't empty the well. Don't go too many times with the bucket because you'll come up empty. I don't believe that. I think the well is unfathomable.
A performance is a struggle. You have to win. The audience is the enemy. We have to bring you to your knees because we're right.
Since you've said that there's so much of you in it, do you share her view when she says that the audience is the enemy?
Yeah, they have to be dominated. They have to be brought into this world for the next 2-3 hours. Callas says, when you sing, you have to make them believe this is the only way this aria can be sung, that yours is the only right voice.
Because the artist in that moment gives everything he has at that moment. His whole being is in this purpose. The least that the public can do is try to understand and appreciate.
What do you hope the audience comes away with?
I would hope my admiration for Callas as an artist, but all artists. It's not just about Callas. I would like them to come away with what these people do, these artists, and I mean theater artists and painters and musicians and designers and actors and directors, what they do matters. It civilizes us. There has to be more to life than the noise of the streets. I do think the theater is a holy place. Not a church, but I think it's a special place. And I think we go there to learn about ourselves.
Our planet.
Ensuring the health of our forests is important to all of us. Uncontrolled fire and disease can upset nature's delicate balance. Removing fire-damaged timber with helicopters results in little impact on the environment while salvaging valuable natural resources. The remaining trees then thrive on additional light and moisture and become more resistant to the effects of future fire and disease. Columbia Helicopters, dedicated to managing forest health and a healthy economy for over 20 years.
I always try to put partisan politics aside and listen to other people's ideas.
Go to Blockbuster and rent the Mickey Rooney movie about Boys Town.
I watched Boys Town, but Newt's idea to put poor children in orphanages didn't make sense to me.
Daddy, what's orphanage?
So I did what I always do. Talk to other people, try to find a better idea.
Let the grandparents take care of them.
Ron Wyden's bill allowing grandparents to care for children from troubled homes passed in the House, with a little help from a grandmother in Oregon.
Even after over 60 years in business, some folks still don't know that Sleep and Air mattresses are made in our Portland factory. Our craftspeople use the finest materials. When you buy Sleep and Air, you buy directly from the folks who make them.
Family-owned Sleep and Air will beat any retailer's price on Simmons, Spring Air, or our own Sleep and Air brand, or adjustable beds. Buy from people you can count on.
We guarantee the best value every day, the best sleep every night.
Tired of a garage so full you can't even put your car in it? Or a patio that looks like this? Then now's the time to put it all away in a Tough Shed storage building. Every Tough Shed is all wood, not tin, has its own foundation and floor, 25-year siding, and 20-year shingles. Let Tough Shed solve your storage needs with a shed that's just the right style and size for you.
Tough Shed at 6500 Northeast Halsey at I-84. Call 288-TUFF.
What matters most in wartime, do you suppose? Firepower? Yes. Strategy, of course. Supplies, morale, all those things do matter a great deal. But it may be that what matters most of all is the ability to understand what the enemy believes are its secure and secret messages. If you could do that, if you could know what the other side had in mind, well, then surely you would win. Well, as Mark Phillips is about to tell us now, that is in fact what happened during the most devastating war ever fought on this earth.
The noises of the past are still in the air over an old country house in the middle of England. And you can still hear them with the right equipment. Old American-made World War II vintage shortwave radios, still working. These days, mostly pulling in the Morse code transmissions of ham radio operators. Back then, the noises represented something far more sinister. During World War II, the Nazi military used highly encoded Morse code transmissions to communicate with its far-flung forces in the field. The German fast-moving blitzkrieg strategy required reliable, secure, portable communications equipment. They got it from a machine aptly called Enigma. So good was it at scrambling messages that the Nazis were convinced its codes could never be broken. Yet back at that English country estate of Bletchley Park, in huts now run down with age, the Allies were listening and, remarkably, understanding. They had broken the code. Particularly the most difficult code, the one used by the wolf packs of German U-boats which roamed the North Atlantic, sinking ships carrying essential war supplies and killing the people who sailed them. Many of the heroes of the Battle of the Atlantic sailed in the convoys and damned the torpedoes. But others worked here at Bletchley Park, telling the sailors where the U-boats were and how to avoid them. These are now the unlikely heroes of a new best-selling novel called Enigma, a thriller based on the real events of Bletchley by writer Robert Harris.
I tried to write scenes in the North Atlantic. I couldn't do it. I can't write steady number one, torpedo on the starboard bow. It's become a cliche. So it's possible to write, I hope, quite a modern war book in a way, in that the heroes are technical people. They are not warriors. They're not macho types. They're far more realistic to modern warfare. They're mathematicians. They're scientists. And that interested me.
That so little is known even today about Bletchley Park and its dilapidated buildings is another testament to the significance of what went on here. For decades after the end of the war, the work that was done here remained top secret. This is where the great information battle of the Second World War was fought and won. The warriors were info warriors. Today, we'd probably call them nerds, and the debt owed them has never been fully recognized.
This is a standard German army Enigma machine. It's over 50 years old.
Robert Harris carries an Enigma machine with him wherever he goes promoting his book. It's reached the top of the British bestseller chart and is doing well in the U.S. The machine gets pride of place on the kitchen table for visiting reporters, too. It looks like an old portable typewriter, except that by using different combinations of rotors and prearranged settings on a field of patch cords, the results are astronomical.
There are 159 million different combinations of starting position of this machine, each one of which will generate a different code sequence.
At Bletchley Park, where a small museum now exists, they have a mint condition Enigma machine. Type a letter, it's encoded and lights up as something else. Type it again, another letter lights up. That's the beauty of the machine. The rotors rotate and the code settings change every time a letter is hit.
It's a masterpiece of German technology. I mean, it's simple, it's robust, it's very clever, it's ingenious. I mean, and also I think it's quite beautiful in its way as an object.
What are we calling this? Windows 45?
Yeah. Yes, Adolf gives you Windows 45.
Yet somehow, mostly because of the sloppiness of some operators, the code was broken. And if ever the German high command felt its orders were being compromised, no one was willing to tell the boss.
In a society like Nazi Germany, rather like in the collapse of communism, nobody could take the initiative to really change things, and nobody ultimately wanted to go to Adolf Hitler and say, there's a problem, mein Führer. I'm afraid I may have been telling you the codes are completely secure, but we think that for the past 2 years, every order you've given has been read. That would not have gone down very well. It would have been injurious to your health, and for that reason, I think that partly explains why the Germans never changed their codes with disastrous results.
More than brain power was used to break the codes. Once the decoders had a clue as to what the day's Enigma settings were, and they changed every day, they would run the possibilities through primitive computers, the last surviving one of which is actually in Washington. At first, the machines were rumbling mechanical devices. Later, an electronic tube monster called Colossus was developed. The computer age, arguably, began here.
I'm interested by these places where the world skips on. Los Alamos, the world was one way before Los Alamos, where they invented the bomb, and another way after it. And the same is true of Bletchley Park. Bletchley Park conjured into existence the modern world.
Bletchley Park may not look like one of those places where the world was irrevocably changed, but that is exactly what happened here. This is the place where the human mind ran up against its own limitations and had to invent machines to crunch numbers. Bletchley Park is exit number 1 on the information superhighway. But the success or failure of this intellectual warfare was reflected in very real terms in the cold North Atlantic. And the U.S. was losing ships and people at sea because the British couldn't make the computers and break the codes fast enough. Washington finally demanded the technology so the machines could be made in the U.S. The knowledge and the center of computing power moved westward across the Atlantic. And so did many of the people. Today in Cambridge, Massachusetts, a retired couple have finally been able to talk openly about what they did in the war. Barbara Ekus was a young Englishwoman. Her husband, Joe, was a U.S. Navy liaison officer. They met working at Bletchley Park.
Out of the blue, a book was written which sort of blew everybody's cover. We were all so surprised. And people then discovered who we were. Old friends would say, good grief, we didn't know what you were doing. And since then, we've been treated with much more respect, I hasten to add.
Acknowledgement of their contribution for those who worked there. Fame and fortune for Robert Harris, who wrote about them, and who now has his own English country house. while his unlikely techno-nerd heroes climb the sales charts. And the secrets of Bletchley Park and all that the world owes to what was done there are now a lot less secret.
From those campaigns of the Second World War to Campaign 96. We'll try to decode some of that as we talk with CBS News correspondent Phil Jones and a little bit about those who are still in it and a general who is not. And with Roger Welch, who is usually very down to earth, we will go way up into the wild blue yonder. Don't worry, though, Roger will not be at the controls.
We're taking our show on the road.
All week we'll be live from Texas with the biggest newsmakers, celebrities, music, and more.
Coming up, trouble at Houston's Astrodome. We'll have the complete story.
Plus, find out what it's like to be an astronaut. We've got the next best thing to being in space.
Tomorrow on the all-new CBS This Morning, live from Houston.
You're on CBS.
You can't judge a book by its cover, and the same is true of our forests. Some want us to believe that our forests should only be judged by their big trees. But actually, most wildlife species need a variety of tree sizes to thrive. By sustaining this variety, we're creating structural diversity and writing a new chapter in forestry that provides for both wildlife and human needs. That's important because Oregon's forests are a resource worth conserving.
Like previous generations of farmers, we love this land. Fact is, almost all Oregon farms are owned and operated by families like ours, and it's a big responsibility. We work hard to keep the land productive and to keep what we grow safe. As the second largest industry in the state, our investment in caring for this land is good for Oregon, providing a future, not just for my kids, but for all of our kids.
Schwab, winter batteries to get you through for whatever you drive.
Shirley Hancock, News Center 6.
Still to come this Sunday morning, your letters. Some of them a little warm to the touch.
Today, our country enters the 21st century with the privatization.
Around the world today, industries once owned by governments are increasingly owned by investors.
That privatization leads to...
And by advising governments in privatizations, Merrill Lynch is helping lead the way.
better life for our people.
Further evidence that for all our clients, the quality of our advice makes a difference. The difference is Merrill Lynch.
The caffeine removed, the spirit untouched. Made from 100% Colombian beans, the richest coffee in the world. Naturally decaffeinated, U-Ban. Taste this decaffeinated and you will taste the spirit of coffee.
When was the last time you played in the rain? Let your hair go wild. Flexed your muscles to the world. Stayed up past your bedtime. When was the last time you really had fun in a car? Riviera by Buick. Go ahead, express yourself.
It's Sunday morning on CBS. And here again is Charles Osgood.
CBS News correspondent Phil Jones joins us now from Washington. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Charles.
Well, on the political front, I guess this was the week that wasn't.
Sure was. All the reporters said that Colin Powell was going to run for the Republican presidential nomination, and it didn't happen. At this point, I don't think any of us really know for sure why he didn't run. At one point, he was talking to some of his close advisors, and he was saying, look, I've got a list here of 20 or 30 reasons why I should run for president and not one why I shouldn't. Give me a reason why I shouldn't. But I think you have to take him on his word, and he looked at it, and he said that he just didn't have the fire in the belly. That's hard for me to understand because, as you saw on this broadcast just a few weeks ago on a cover story, we went out and did him on his book tour. And I asked him that very question, you know, does he have the fire in the belly? And he says, you know, at the end of the day, you'd have to be brain dead to say no, that stuff wasn't coming through. But I suppose he looked and the family looked, and they all said that they didn't have maybe the fire, but they didn't have the stomach for it.
For one thing, he seemed to go out of his way while saying no thank you to also say that he had registered, he was a Republican, he wanted, his politics were Republican politics. Does this mean that there is perhaps some role in the party for him, even if not as a candidate, then some other role?
Well, I think he would like to have a role in the party. Certainly, as he has been out speaking over the past few months, he has not hesitated to take on the extreme right of the Republican Party. At one point, he was saying to all of these revolutionaries out there with more than single-digit showing in the political polls, come on forward, let's debate where the Republican Party should be going. I think he's going to have a big role, and I would imagine that come the Republican convention time, you might even see Colin Powell as the keynote speaker to the Republican National Convention.
Let us say that he has spoken to the convention, that he turns out to be a dynamite keynote speaker. Now we have a situation where Dole, let's just assume for the moment that Dole is the man. He looks as if he's going to get the nomination. But the polls are showing that he's going to lose to Bill Clinton. At that point, do you think that they might turn to Powell and say, please, Vice President?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think that Colin Powell has made a decision on one thing, and that was he was not going to run for the Republican nomination. But in his news conference, he was very skillful, and he left open the possibility of serving, you know, of running in 2000 or, you know, even something happening on the vice presidency this year. He said he didn't want to, but he didn't give that general Sherman statement that I will not run for or I will not accept if drafted for this. So I think that if the Republicans are in big trouble in the polls at that point, Bob Dole would come to Colin Powell in a minute. That's going to be a big, tough decision for Colin Powell because here he is, new in the Republican Party, and then if he says no, that's 2 times. Two strikes.
And of course, nobody ever says that they want to be vice president, certainly not before the convention. So we may have to wait and see about that one.
Well, look at Lyndon Johnson. I mean, Lyndon Johnson said he didn't want it, and he ended up.
How about, Bob, there is another fellow who has not declared his candidacy, but who hasn't said no yet. And of course, I'm talking about Newt Gingrich.
Oh,
what is the Gingrich factor now?
Well, I don't know. I think that Newt Gingrich said that he and his wife were going to sit down after the Thanksgiving break here, or during the Thanksgiving break, and look at it and decide. Well, you know, once they sit down and start looking at it, if they're really serious, they're going to find that the public opinion polls show Newt Gingrich has some of the highest negatives you've ever seen in politics. And generally speaking, our last CBS News New York Times poll showed that the people had decided on Gingrich, and by 2 to 1, it was unfavorable. Also, he has this thing that's going on with the House Ethics Committee into his book deal and some other things, and this would be out there, and the Democrats would love to spend a lot of time talking about Gingrich and ethics.
And of course, there's some ongoing things right now about the possibility of default and shutdown and all of that. And all of this has to play out first. You've also got a straw poll coming up in Florida.
This time next week, we'll know the winner of the straw poll. You know, straw polls are really nothing, but you ought to see the press releases that are coming out of Florida. It's called Presidency 3, and in the press release it says this will be the biggest and most important Republican event in the nation this year. Bob Dole has sort of raised the stakes a little bit there because he didn't do well in an Iowa straw poll. So he said, Iowa doesn't count. Really, the one that is big is Florida.
Of course, the next one is always the most important one. Anyway, I'll bet the man in the White House is wearing a smile these days.
I think so. But, of course, he has a big problem, too, now. He's trying to decide how to play out this whole train wreck that's going to occur on whether the government will be shut down.
So stay tuned. Thank you very much, Phil. Phil Jones in Washington. Still to come, your thoughts on this, that, and the other out of the Sunday morning mailbag. And out of the Sunday morning mailbag, a postcard from Nebraska. Rather a special one, in fact. We'll return.
That's the Thanksgiving special. What else you got?
Get free calls to MCI customers all day Thanksgiving.
Now that's tasty.
When it comes to mutual funds, it's often hard to tell what you're looking at. Is this one better? Or this one? Schwab makes finding funds that may be right for you easy with the Select List. Each quarter, we analyze the more than 350 no-load funds we provide, based on data from Morningstar, to give you a summary of the historically high performers. For a free trial subscription, call 1-800-5-NO-LOAD and see if it doesn't help bring things into focus.
Over the last 150 years, all kinds of companies that said they'd be there when you needed them didn't stand up to their promises. That's life. Our policy of thoughtful, prudent investing has kept us, well, a pillar of strength for the last 150 years. That's New York Life, the company you keep.
Who says the world has changed? Summer is still way too short. The first day of school is still way too long. But somehow, it's not so bad when you have your favorite bologna sandwich. Oscar Mayer.
You got bologna? Me too.
Quality beef, no fillers. Shouldn't your kids grow up with Oscar Mayer?
That's the Thanksgiving special. What else you got?
Get free calls to MCI customers all day Thanksgiving.
Now that's tasty.
Above the plains now. You can look out on the plains, of course, but not down on them. There's hardly an elevation high enough in all that vast sweep of territory to let you get a bird's eye view. But there are heights. It turns out heights of daring do and patriotism. From Roger Welch now, a Veterans Day postcard from Nebraska.
Our family's been in the farming around here for approximately 175 years. That's all we've done. That's what I grew up knowing.
Tom Kammerer farms near the tiny town of Lashara, Nebraska. Tom is perfectly at home with his profession that measures life in bushels per acre, feet per minute, and hundredths of inches.
This dimension of Tom Kammerer's life moves within the great annual sweeps of the calendar, a couple of miles an hour, in the gentle, quiet rhythms of the rural landscapes of the plains, about as close to the soil as you can get.
Here, baby.
He keeps informed about market prices, new governmental regulations, and developments in the increasingly technological world of agriculture.
I have 4 monitors going at one time when I'm planting corn. I try to do everything in one pass, and I'll be spraying fertilizer on, putting chemicals on, changing rates on my seed plant population with another set. It keeps you pretty busy, even going at 4.5 miles an hour.
And then there are times when things pick up a bit. Technology shifts gears. Speeds increase.
farm cap becomes a pilot's helmet, and the mower becomes an F-16 Viper of the Iowa Air National Guard in Sioux City, miles above the sweet bottomlands that Captain Kammerer farms.
Propulsion 3 for 10 on course, 1-5 heavy.
Oscar 1-5 heavy, roger, and the F-16s are going to be joining with you at this time.
Okay, affirmative.
We got Lashar right down here off to our right now.
I followed recent discussions about civilian militia units with considerable interest because I was a member of one for 7 years when I was a lot younger. I wore a uniform, drove around in military vehicles, carried a sidearm, worked around some really big weapons, learned a lot, had some fun.
Any questions about the route or anything? Or?
The difference between that militia and the modern one we read about in newspapers today is that my militia was the kind referenced in the Constitution's Bill of Rights, a well-regulated militia. The Nebraska Air National Guard. I'm quite proud that for 7 years I was available to defend my country, my state, my family, and my home. A recent visit with the 185th Fighter Group gave me a chance to renew old memories and tuck away some new ones. Is this the plane that you always fly the first?
No, this is the only two-seater we have.
Northwest 1061. The first F-16 is rolling at this time. You can turn right heading 220.
All right, right turn to 220, Northwest 1016.
Approach Lexair 316, 315 is with you at 1000 with Echo.
Lexair 315, Sioux City approach, Senate Power discretion, maintain 5000 for the airport in sight for visual approach, runway 31 or 35, your choice.
Approach on altimeter 3029, say altitude.
3029 at 10,000, and it's KC-135 with 4 fighters in tow.
The hero of the American Revolution, the citizen soldier, is still with us, and he or she is not some fat bald guy with a deer rifle and goofy notions about conspiracies. He's more apt to be like Tom Kammerer, flying one of these war machines, cozying up to a KC-135 refueler from the Nebraska Air National Guard somewhere over the rural plains.
Big contact, stabilize ready.
D3 cleared to contact.
Thanks.
Bring him in.
Look back and left again.
That's affirmative. How's that?
That's great, sir. How much fuel do you want?
Just 500-pound token. And we're going to be coming up on Dannebrog, I would think.
Oh, I recognize the countryside.
Answer, request after this disconnect, you should just fly off to your left, nice and slow. And then disconnect now. And 2-1, you want to take peel off to the left if you can, and leave us?
Okay, we will do a left turn around Dannebrog now.
If you had to make a choice, which would it be, flying or farming?
Boy, some days it's farming, some days it's flying. It just depends on the time of the season. I suppose during harvest I'll look at going back to flying a lot more.
I'm often surprised, amused, even annoyed when someone from the city suggests that farmers are somehow backwoods bumpkins, when the fact of the matter is, the modern farmer works with technologies as complex as any occupation I can imagine. I try to explain that the farmers on those tractors they see moving across Nebraska's farm fields are controlling devices as advanced and complicated as well as the controls in a modern fighter plane.
Okay, on uniform ops check, lead's got the funny one with 1929, 8,000 tag speed.
Do you ever find yourself flying close enough to this area that you look down and, my God, you think that's my place?
The first time that I basically flew over this area, we were at 25,000 feet, and one of the guys that was with me, I said, there it is, and pointed it out to him. And he didn't see why I got so excited, but it's kind of exciting to see it, even if it was from 4 to 5 miles high.
We got Lashar right down here off to our right now.
In every number, there is a question. Is there life after retirement? How far will your company go? In every number, there is a question. And if you have the vision to see it, an answer. You see numbers, we see opportunities.
Because of the quality care standards, take care of a customer is more than just fixing a car. Can you describe the noise? It's a little. It's about listening, it's about communication. It's about getting the customer more involved. We'll call you by 10:30, 11. How many miles do you have on the car? You have to ask the right questions. You have to let them know that you're committed. We want you to be a customer for life. Your keys? And we thank you very much for doing business with us.
Quality care people, quality care standards at your Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealer.
Connect to internet.
Fax a fer Raisandif.
I'm Activa from IBM. See and hear me at Radio Shack.
That was your first date with Jimmy. You remember that?
Mrs. Smith's pies, the taste that takes you home. And make Mrs. Smith's pies even better with Cool Whip topping.
Now then, to the mail. Our story on the budget crunch at our national parks drew a good many responses. Melvin and Darlena Richardson of Hawthorne, California, say they don't dispute that the parks are in financial trouble, but, they write, some of the financial trouble can be attributed to poor management. We've gone through many of the parks here in the West, and there seems to be a common problem. There is no one on the gate to collect the fees. For some reason beyond our grasp, the toll collectors were the ones who were cut in an effort to save money. That is the same as a retail store having to lay off the cashiers to save money. Another September cover story concerned the plight of some workers in West Virginia left in the lurch when the factory that had employed them was relocated by its new owner. R. Stuart Baird of San Rafael, California, writes, even in the narrow context of the Maytag relocation, says Mr. Baird, it is undoubtedly true that many more persons benefited from the relocation than were harmed by it. All the persons in South Carolina who got new jobs, the shareholders of Maytag, many of whom are retirees, who now have a more secure and prosperous investment, and the remaining workforce of Maytag, which now works for a more secure company. Tim Lenz of Sarasota, Florida, sends us a clipping. Thought you might be interested in the attached, he says. It appears as though Bill Geist has an alias and a second job. His alias is Ray Russenberger, and his second job is Chairman and CEO of Network USA. Will he get fired for this? I don't know, Mr. Lenz. All depends on how Network USA is doing. As for something we thought we had settled, this folder contains just some of the letters that you have written, imploring us not to abandon the sun as our symbol. There are petitions in here, drawings from children, pleadings, nearly every letter begins, please no, don't, you mustn't. And it's all because we read one letter, the only such letter I think that we've ever had, from a viewer who is tired of our sons. We only read that letter because we thought it was amusing. But do not worry, so long as there is a Sunday morning, there will be sons on it. We've had letters about something that many of you apparently would like us to get rid of. It is something we started doing in the last few months. Shirley Sims of Springfield, Illinois, puts it this way. Why do you have to tell me 3 or 4 times what you were going to tell me? I'm intelligent enough to remember that in the beginning, you tell me what you were going to tell me. No need to keep reminding me what you were going to tell me. Roy and Eileen Cooper of Northfield, Minnesota, remembered a letter complimenting us on the brief silences that follow most of our stories. It seems you took it for negative criticism, they say, and have sought to make up for it by previewing upcoming segments with each break. We learn at the beginning of the program what's coming during the next 90 minutes. Say the Coopers, we don't need to be reminded. And Cole Kidner of Henderson, Nevada says, if, as is true of Sunday morning, the offerings stand on their own merit, then there's no necessity to hustle a faithful audience. We will watch almost religiously, says Cole Kidner, because we know that what is produced is elegant and in good taste. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Kidner. Well, the reason that we have been doing it is that we thought it might be helpful to point out what is coming up, especially for those who might have missed the beginning of the broadcast. In any event, I would appreciate having your input on this or anything else on this broadcast that you may have thoughts about. Our address remains Sunday morning, 524 West 57th Street, Box O, as in Osgood, New York, New York. The zip is 10019.
Don't let them tell you it's going to be easy. There are no shortcuts or magic formulas. Making money takes research, intellect, and hard work. Any investment firm that tells you differently is telling you they have no intention of working hard on your behalf. Before you hand them your money, examine their work ethic. Be certain they have one.
Smith Barney, they make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
You've always made a great team.
Together growing, dreaming, caring, and sharing the rewards along the way. Park Avenue. For the comfort, for the luxury, for the quality. Congratulations, you've earned it. Buick Park Avenue.
At BASF, we don't make the cooler. We make it cooler. We don't make the jeans, we make them bluer. We don't make the toys, we make them tougher. We don't make the water scooter, we make it lighter. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy, we make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
Thanks to Sprint Business, there's a company who does more business in skis.
Sprint gave us an edge.
Sprint worked with Volant and brought them real solutions to help them get ahead so they can check orders online from anywhere and promote new products through video conferencing. Now they do business a whole new way.
And sales are really soaring.
We'll help your business do more business. Call Sprint Business.
On 60 Minutes this evening here on CBS, a Kentucky judge has prohibited a lawyer from talking to his own clients about documents he is accused of stealing. Those documents contain some secrets of the tobacco industry. Mike Wallace will report tonight on 60 Minutes. When our trumpet sounds again next week, we will bring you a story of the poets and pathmakers of the Beat generation. They are with us still, in many ways, some decades later, as you will see. We leave you this morning in Wyoming, along a stretch of the Yellowstone River to which bald-pate widgeons and golden-eyed ducks and trumpeter swans have come too. The swans, by the way, have just flown in from Alaska to escape the blizzards there. Guess what they found in Wyoming? I'm Charles Osgood. We hope you'll join us here again next Sunday morning. Until then, I'll see you on the radio.
For a printed transcript, send $5 to Sunday Morning Transcript, Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039. For a video cassette of selected segments of this Sunday morning, call 1-800-242-7747.
CBS News. Have you seen your country today?
Washington's budget battles. Nobody's blinking. Could they shut down the government? White House Chief of Staff Leon Panetta faces the nation today.
Nobody blows smoke at you like the tobacco industry. What they've done to keep the public from knowing all there is to know about cigarettes. Tonight on 60 Minutes.
Tonight.